The rain came down hard on the streets of Manhattan that Saturday afternoon. People rushed through the doors of the Westfield Mall, shaking water from their coats and umbrellas. Inside, the mall was warm and bright. Hundreds of people walked from store to store carrying shopping bags and talking on their phones. In the center of the mall, there was a large open space called the atrium. A grand piano sat there, painted in bright colors with flowers and butterflies. Someone had painted the words, "Play me, I'm yours," on the side. The piano was part of a city art project. Anyone could sit down and play it. But on this rainy day, most people just walked past it without stopping. Marcus Bennett stood near the piano, leaning against a marble pillar. He was 28 years old, tall and thin, with dark hair that needed a haircut. He wore expensive jeans and a black sweater that cost more than most people spent on clothes in a year. His phone kept buzzing in his pocket, but he ignored it. He was tired of phone calls. He was tired of meetings. He was tired of people wanting things from him. 6 months ago, Marcus had sold his technology company for $42 million. Everyone told him he should be happy. He was rich. He was successful. He was living the dream. But Marcus did not feel like he was living any dream. He felt empty inside, like a balloon with all the air let out. Before he started his company, Marcus had been different. He used to laugh more. He used to play piano every day. Music had been his escape, his joy, his way of saying things he could not say with words. But then came the startup, the long nights of coding, the meetings with investors, the pressure to grow faster and make more money. The piano in his expensive apartment had become just another piece of furniture, gathering dust. Today, Marcus had woken up in his penthouse and felt like he could not breathe. The walls seemed too close. His phone had 17 missed calls before he even got out of bed. He needed to get out, to be somewhere normal, somewhere nobody knew his name or wanted his money or his time. So he came to the mall, a place where he could be just another person in the crowd. His phone buzzed again. Marcus pulled it out and looked at the screen. It was David Chen, his former business partner, calling about another investment opportunity. Marcus pressed the button to reject the call and slid the phone back into his pocket. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. That was when he heard the voice. "Mommy, look, a piano." Marcus opened his eyes and saw a little girl pointing at the painted piano. She was maybe 7 or 8 years old, with black hair pulled back in a ponytail. She wore a purple jacket that was too big for her and had a small tear near the pocket. Her shoes were old sneakers with frayed laces. But her eyes were bright and full of wonder as she stared at the piano like it was the most magical thing she had ever seen. Behind the girl, a woman in her 30s walked quickly, carrying 2 plastic shopping bags. The woman looked tired. Her clothes were simple and worn. She had the same black hair as the girl, pulled back from her face. This was clearly the girl's mother. "Emily, come on," the woman said in a gentle but firm voice. "We need to get your school supplies and go home. I have to work tonight." But Emily did not move. She kept staring at the piano with those wide, wondering eyes. "Can I touch it, Mommy? Just for a second?" The mother sighed. "Emily, we don't have time. And you don't know how to play piano anyway. Come on now." "But Mommy, I've always wanted to see a real piano up close. Please, just for 1 second." Marcus watched this conversation from his spot against the pillar. He saw the love in the mother's tired eyes. He saw the longing in the little girl's face. Something about the scene made his chest feel tight. The mother looked at her watch and then at her daughter. "Okay, 1 minute. You can look at it, but don't touch the keys, and then we have to go." Emily's face lit up like the sun breaking through clouds. She rushed over to the piano, her old sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. She stopped in front of it and reached out one small hand, then pulled it back, remembering her mother's words. She just stood there staring at the keys, at the painted flowers on the side, at everything. Marcus found himself walking toward the piano without really deciding to do it. There was something about this little girl's pure joy that pulled at him. When was the last time he had felt that excited about anything? He sat down on the piano bench and Emily jumped back, startled. "Oh, sorry, mister," she said quickly. "Were you going to play?" Marcus looked at the keys. His fingers remembered their shape, remembered how they felt, even though it had been so long. "I was just sitting down," he said. Emily looked at him with those bright eyes. She tilted her head to the side, studying him like he was a puzzle she was trying to solve. Then she smiled, a gap-toothed smile that was completely genuine. "Can you play piano?" she asked. Marcus paused. "I used to." Will you play something? Please. Emily's eyes were full of hope. Just one song? I've never heard a real piano before. Not in person. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. This little girl, who probably had so little, was asking him for something that cost nothing but a few minutes of his time. When was the last time someone had asked him for something so simple? Everything in his world now was complicated, full of contracts and negotiations and people wanting pieces of his money or his company connections. I don't really play anymore, Marcus said, but even as he said it, his fingers were moving toward the keys. Why not? Emily asked, moving a little closer. Did you forget how? Marcus almost laughed at that. Did he forget how? Maybe he had. Maybe he had forgotten a lot of things. Emily, the mother, had noticed her daughter talking to a stranger and hurried over. I'm so sorry, sir. She's very curious. Come on, Emily, leave the man alone. The mother reached for Emily's hand, but the girl pulled back just a little. He's going to play for me, Mommy, Emily said. Just one song. The mother looked embarrassed. Emily, the gentleman is busy. You can't just ask people to. It's okay, Marcus heard himself say. He looked up at the mother and tried to give her a reassuring smile. I don't mind. It's been a while since I played, but I can manage one song. The mother looked uncertain. She studied Marcus's face, probably trying to decide if he was safe, if this was okay. Marcus understood. A stranger in a mall offering to do something for your child. Any good parent would be cautious, are you sure? The mother asked. We don't want to bother you. You're not bothering me, Marcus said, and he realized it was true. For the first time in months, someone was asking him to do something he actually wanted to do. Something that had nothing to do with money or business, something simple and human. The mother nodded slowly and stepped back, keeping a protective hand on Emily's shoulder. Marcus looked down at the keys. They were a little scratched from all the people who had played this public piano. Some of the paint on the flowers was chipped. But it was a real piano, and it was tuned reasonably well. He could do this. He could play one song for a little girl who had never heard live piano music before. He positioned his hands over the keys, feeling the cool smoothness under his fingers. It had been almost 2 years since he had played. 2 years of business meetings and coding and deals and stress. 2 years of forgetting who he used to be. Marcus started to play. He chose a piece he had known by heart since he was a teenager. Beethoven's Für Elise. His fingers were stiff at first, stumbling over the notes. But then muscle memory took over. His fingers remembered the pattern, the rhythm, the feeling of making music. The notes floated out into the mall atrium, clear and sweet. People walking by started to slow down. Some stopped. A few took out their phones to record. But Marcus barely noticed them. He was focused on the music, on remembering what it felt like to create something beautiful, something that asked nothing except to be heard. Beside him, Emily stood perfectly still. Her eyes were closed and a small smile played on her lips. She swayed just slightly to the music like a flower moving in a gentle breeze. As Marcus played, something shifted inside him. The tightness in his chest began to ease. The constant noise in his head, the worries about investments and stock prices and business decisions started to fade. There was just the music, just this moment, just the simple act of playing piano for a little girl in a mall on a rainy Saturday. The song was not very long, maybe 3 minutes. But to Marcus it felt like both an instant and forever. When he played the final notes and lifted his hands from the keys, he felt different. Lighter somehow. More like himself than he had felt in 2 years. The small crowd that had gathered applauded. A few people called out "Bravo" and "Beautiful." But Marcus was not looking at them. He was looking at Emily, who still had her eyes closed, still swaying slightly like the music was still playing in her head. Then Emily opened her eyes. She did not clap like the crowd. She just looked at Marcus with an expression he could not quite read. It was serious and thoughtful, like she could see right through him. "Why did you stop?" she asked softly. Marcus blinked. The song ended. "Oh." Emily moved closer to the piano bench. "It made me feel like I was flying. Like I had wings and I was floating up above all the buildings and cars and everything." Marcus felt his throat get tight. When was the last time someone had described his music that way? When was the last time anyone had talked to him about feelings instead of money? "That's how good music should make you feel," he said quietly. Emily nodded like he had said something very wise. Then she said something that would change everything. My teacher says music is when your heart talks without words. She tilted her head again, studying him with those two knowing eyes. I think your heart is very sad, but it's also very beautiful. The words hit Marcus like a physical force. This little girl, this child who did not know anything about him, who did not know about his company or his money or his success, had seen something in his music that no one else had seen in years. She had heard his sadness. She had heard his heart. Marcus stared at Emily, unable to speak. Around them, the crowd was breaking up, going back to their shopping. But Marcus felt frozen in place, pinned by the simple truth this child had spoken. Emily, that was lovely. But we really have to go now, the mother said gently. She looked at Marcus. Thank you so much for playing for her. That was very kind of you. The mother took Emily's hand and started to lead her away. But Marcus found his voice. Wait, he called out. They turned back. The mother looked cautious again, protective. Marcus stood up from the piano bench. He walked over to them, trying to think of what to say. His heart was beating fast. That crack in his chest had become a canyon, and something was pouring out of it. Some need he did not understand yet. What's your name? He asked Emily. Emily Chen, the girl said. What's yours? Marcus. Marcus Bennett. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Bennett, Emily said with perfect politeness. Then her face got sad. I wish I could learn to play piano like you. But we can't afford lessons. Mommy works really hard, but piano lessons cost too much money. Emily, the mother said, embarrassed. You can't tell strangers about our... You can't say things like that. But it's true, Mommy, Emily said, confused. The mother's face was red. She looked at Marcus. I'm sorry. We should go. Thank you again for playing. Marcus made a decision. He did not think about it or plan it. He just knew, suddenly and certainly, that he could not let this little girl walk away and never know what happened to her. Do you like music? He asked Emily. I mean, really like it? Not just the piano? Emily's face lit up again. I love music. I listen to songs on the radio and I sing them all the time. I make up melodies in my head. Sometimes I draw pianos on paper and pretend to play them. Something in Marcus's heart broke and healed at the same time. This girl had so much passion, so much natural love for music and no way to explore it. How many Emily Chens were out there in the world? How many kids with talent and dreams but no opportunities? I'd like to help, Marcus said. If you'd let me, I'd like to arrange for Emily to have some piano lessons. The mother's face went from surprise to suspicious. Why would you do that? You don't know us. You're right, I don't, Marcus admitted. But I used to be like Emily. I loved music more than anything. I was lucky enough to have parents who could afford lessons and a piano. Those lessons changed my life. They gave me a way to express myself, to find peace, to understand who I was. Every kid who loves music should have that chance. The mother still looked uncertain, but something in her eyes softened. She was a mother who loved her daughter. She worked 2 jobs, Marcus guessed, trying to give Emily everything she could. But piano lessons were a luxury they just could not afford. I don't know, the mother said slowly. That's very generous, but it's too much. We couldn't accept that from a stranger. What if I'm not a stranger? Marcus said. What if we start by exchanging names? You know mine. What's yours? Linda Chen, the mother said after a pause. Nice to meet you, Linda. Marcus pulled out his phone. Look, I know this seems strange, but let me give you my contact information. Think about it. Talk to your daughter. If you decide you want to try a few piano lessons, call me. No strings attached. No pressure, just one person who loves music trying to help another person who loves music. Linda Chen studied him for a long moment. Marcus could see her weighing the options, thinking about her daughter, worrying about stranger danger, but also thinking about the opportunity. Finally, she pulled out her own phone, an old model with a cracked screen. Okay, she said. I'll think about it. But I want to be clear, if we do this, it's only because Emily really does love music. Not because we need charity. I understand, Marcus said. It's not charity. It's just paying it forward. He gave Linda his phone number and email address. She typed them into her phone carefully. Emily bounced on her toes, excited but not quite understanding what all this meant. Can I really learn to play piano? Emily asked her mother. Maybe, baby. We'll see, Linda said. She looked at Marcus one more time. Thank you, really, this is very kind. Thank you, Marcus said. Your daughter reminded me of something important today. What's that? Linda asked. Marcus looked at Emily at her bright eyes and gap-toothed smile. She reminded me why music matters. As Linda and Emily walked away, disappearing into the crowd of shoppers, Marcus stood by the painted piano. His hands were shaking slightly. He had just done something completely impulsive, something that made no business sense at all. He had offered to pay for piano lessons for a child he had just met, but it felt right. For the first time in 2 years, something felt absolutely right. Marcus sat back down at the piano. Without thinking about it, he started to play again. This time he played something different. A piece by Chopin, sad and beautiful and full of longing. He played for himself. He played for Emily. He played for everyone who had ever lost something important and was trying to find their way back to it. People gathered again to listen, but Marcus did not care. He was not playing for them. He was playing because a little girl had asked him one simple question, had spoken one simple truth, and had cracked open something in him that he had locked away. As his fingers moved over the keys, Marcus thought about Emily's words. "Your heart is very sad, but it's also very beautiful." She was right. His heart was sad. He had everything money could buy and nothing that really mattered. He had lost himself in the pursuit of success. But maybe, just maybe, helping this little girl could be the start of finding his way back. Marcus did not know it yet. But that moment in the mall, that chance encounter with a poor girl in a too big purple jacket, was about to change his entire life. Sometimes the most important moments do not announce themselves. They come quietly in the voice of a child asking for a song, in the simple courage to play piano for a stranger, in the decision to help someone for no reason except that it feels right. The rain continued to fall outside, but inside the mall something new had begun, something that would grow into more than Marcus could imagine, all because a little girl had seen a piano, had seen a sad man, and had asked him to play. Sometimes that is all it takes. One small request, one moment of courage, one song that reminds you who you used to be and shows you who you could become. Marcus played until his fingers were tired and his heart felt fuller than it had in years. Then he stood up, looked at the piano one more time, and walked out into the rain with a smile on his face. Marcus could not stop thinking about Emily Chen. 3 days had passed since their meeting at the mall, and she was in his thoughts constantly. He would be in a business meeting and suddenly remember the way her eyes had lit up when she looked at the piano. He would be eating dinner in his expensive apartment and think about her words. "Your heart is very sad, but it's also very beautiful." No one had talked to him like that in years. Most people wanted something from him now. They wanted his money, his business connections, his advice on investments. They smiled and said nice things, but it was all surface. Emily had looked at him and seen the truth. She had heard the sadness in his music without even trying. Marcus walked through his apartment on Tuesday evening, a glass of wine in his hand. The place was huge, 3,000 square feet overlooking Central Park. He had bought it 6 months ago for $8 million. It had everything: a chef's kitchen he never cooked in, a home theater he never watched, a master bedroom with a view that magazine photographers loved to shoot, and in the corner of the living room, covered with a thin layer of dust, sat his piano. It was a Steinway Grand, black and gleaming under the designer lights. He had bought it 3 years ago, back when he still played every day, back when music had been his refuge from the stress of building his company. But then the company had gotten bigger, the stress had gotten worse, and somehow he had stopped making time for the one thing that actually helped. Marcus set down his wine glass and walked over to the piano. He ran one finger along the edge, leaving a clean line in the dust. When was the last time he had played it? Before the mall, it had been months, maybe a year. He had forgotten, but now, after playing that public piano for Emily, his fingers itched to play again. It was like something had woken up inside him, something he had tried to bury under work and success and money. Marcus sat down at the bench and opened the keyboard cover. The keys were clean. His housekeeper made sure of that, but they looked lonely somehow, like they were waiting for someone to bring them to life. He started to play. He did not choose a specific song. He just let his fingers move, creating a melody that came from somewhere deep inside. It was sad and hopeful at the same time, like the feeling of waking up from a long sleep and not quite remembering who you were before. As he played, Marcus thought about Linda Chen's face when he offered to pay for lessons. the mix of hope and suspicion and pride. She did not want charity. She wanted to provide for her daughter on her own. Marcus understood that, but he also understood that sometimes pride got in the way of helping a child reach their potential. Would Linda call him? Or would she decide it was too strange, too risky to accept help from someone she met in a mall? Marcus played for an hour, losing himself in the music. When he finally stopped, his phone was ringing. He looked at the screen. Unknown number. His heart jumped. Could it be?
Hello?
He answered. Mr. Bennett? It was Linda Chen's voice, careful and polite. This is Linda Chen. We met at the mall on Saturday. With my daughter, Emily. Yes, of course. I'm glad you called. Marcus stood up, suddenly nervous. How are you? How's Emily? She hasn't stopped talking about you and that piano, Linda said. There was a smile in her voice. She plays her paper piano every night now and pretends she's playing real music. Marcus felt something warm spread through his chest. She's a special kid. She is, Linda paused. Mr. Bennett, I've been thinking about your offer. About the piano lessons. Emily wants to do it so badly, but I need to be honest with you. I don't understand why you would do this for us. You don't know us. We're strangers. Marcus sat back down on the piano bench. How could he explain this to her? How could he make her understand that her daughter had given him something precious without even knowing it? I used to play piano all the time, Marcus said slowly. When I was building my company, things got very stressful, very hard. The only thing that kept me sane was sitting at the piano and playing. Music was my therapy, my escape, my way of staying human when everything else was pushing me to just work and work and work. He paused, gathering his thoughts. But then I got successful. I made a lot of money, and somehow in all that success I lost the music. I stopped playing. I stopped taking time for the thing that actually made me happy. I don't really know when it happened. It was gradual. One day I just realized that I couldn't remember the last time I had played. Linda was quiet on the other end of the line, listening. Then I met Emily, Marcus continued, and she asked me to play one song. Just one song. Such a simple request. And when I played for her, when I saw how happy it made her, something clicked inside me. I remembered why music matters. I remembered what I had lost. I still don't understand why that means you should pay for my daughter's lessons, Linda said gently. Because she helped me, Marcus said. She reminded me of something important. And because I was lucky enough to have parents who could afford lessons, who could buy me a piano, who could give me that gift. Emily loves music the same way I did. The same way I still do, I guess. But she doesn't have the same opportunities I had. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Linda said quietly. We've learned that. Maybe not. But maybe we can make it a little more fair, one kid at a time. Linda was silent for a long moment. Marcus could hear her breathing, could almost feel her weighing the decision. What exactly are you offering? She finally asked. Piano lessons with a good teacher, maybe twice a week to start. And eventually, if Emily shows real interest and talent, we could look at getting her access to a piano to practice on. Nothing huge or fancy, just enough to let her learn. Mr. Bennett, do you understand how much that would cost? Marcus thought about the $8 million apartment he was sitting in. About the $42 million in his bank accounts. About the watch on his wrist that cost more than most families spent on rent in a year. I can afford it, he said simply. That's not the point. Linda's voice got a little harder. I don't want my daughter to think we need handouts. I work hard. I provide for us. I know you do. Emily told me you work really hard. Marcus tried to choose his words carefully. This isn't about you not being able to provide. This is about giving Emily something extra, something beyond the basics. You give her food and clothes and a home and love. That's the important stuff. This is just bonus. This is the cherry on top. A very expensive cherry, Linda said, but there was a smile in her voice again. I spend money on stupid things all the time, Marcus admitted. Last month I bought a painting for my office that cost $50,000. I don't even like it that much. I just bought it because the art dealer said it was a good investment. Wouldn't it be better to invest in a real person? In a kid who actually loves something? Linda laughed, a real laugh. When you put it that way, I guess piano lessons do seem like a better investment than a painting you don't like. Exactly. There was another pause. Then Linda said, Okay, we'll try it. But I have some conditions. Name them. First, this is a trial. We start with 1 month of lessons. If Emily doesn't like it, or if this arrangement feels weird or uncomfortable in any way, we stop. No hard feelings. Fair enough? Second, I want to know who the teacher is before Emily starts. I need to meet them, make sure they're good with kids, make sure it's safe. Absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. Third, I don't want Emily to know that you're paying for this. I'll tell her that I found a program that helps kids learn music. I don't want her to think we need charity or that we can't afford things on our own. Marcus hesitated. Are you sure? I don't mind if she knows. I'm sure. I want her to stay humble. I want her to understand the value of things. If she thinks some rich guy is just giving her whatever she wants, it might mess up the lessons I'm trying to teach her about working hard and earning things. Marcus thought about this. He could see Linda's point. Okay, whatever you think is best. Good. Linda's voice softened. Thank you, Mr. Bennett, really. This means the world to Emily, to both of us. Call me Marcus, please. And thank you for trusting me. After they hung up, Marcus sat at his piano, staring at the keys. He had just committed to paying for a stranger's child's piano lessons. It was impulsive. It was unusual. It was something the old Marcus, the businessman Marcus, would have analyzed and probably decided against. But it felt right. It felt like the most right thing he had done in years. The next morning, Marcus started making calls. He needed to find a good piano teacher, someone patient and skilled and good with children. He called a friend from college who taught music at Juilliard and asked for recommendations. You're looking for a kid's piano teacher? His friend asked, surprised. Since when do you know any kids? It's a long story, Marcus said. His friend gave him 3 names. Marcus called all of them. The first 2 were booked solid for months. But the third, a woman named Maria Rodriguez, had some openings. Marcus explained what he was looking for. Lessons for a beginner, a child who had never played before but who had a natural love for music. How old is the child? Maria asked. 8. Her name is Emily. And what's your relationship to her? Marcus paused. What was his relationship to Emily? He had met her once for maybe 10 minutes. I'm helping her family, he said finally. They can't afford lessons, but Emily really wants to learn. That's wonderful, Marcus said. You're very lucky. I know. Emily bounced on her toes. I'm so excited I couldn't eat lunch today. My stomach was too full of butterflies. They went inside together. Maria Rodriguez's studio was on the 2nd floor of an old building. The studio itself was small but nice, with 2 pianos, 1 grand and 1 upright, and music posters on the walls. Maria was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and kind eyes. She greeted them warmly. You must be Emily, Maria said, shaking Emily's hand. I'm Ms. Rodriguez. I'm going to be your piano teacher. Hi, Emily said, shaking hands seriously. I've never played a real piano before. Well, I played one once when Mr. Bennett played for me, but I didn't really play it. I just touched it, Maria smiled. Well, today you're going to really play. How does that sound? Amazing. Linda and Marcus sat on a small couch in the corner while Maria started the lesson. Marcus had told himself he would just stay for a few minutes, but he found himself unable to leave. He watched as Maria showed Emily how to sit properly at the piano, how to position her hands, how to feel the keys. Emily listened with complete focus. Her eyes never left Maria's face. When Maria asked her to try playing a simple scale, Emily's little fingers fumbled at first, but she kept trying. She was not afraid to make mistakes. She just laughed and tried again. You're a natural, Maria said after 20 minutes. You have good hand position and you're not afraid of the keys. Some kids are scared to press them at first, but you just go for it, Emily beamed. I've been waiting my whole life to do this. Marcus felt his throat get tight. Her whole life. She was 8 years old, and she felt like she had been waiting forever. What must it be like to want something so badly and think you could never have it? The lesson lasted an hour. By the end, Emily had learned a simple melody with 1 hand. Just 5 notes, but she played them over and over, getting more confident each time. When the lesson was over, Emily ran to her mother. Did you see, Mommy? Did you see me play piano? I saw, baby. You were wonderful. Emily turned to Marcus. Did you see, Mr. Bennett? I saw. You're going to be great, Emily, I can tell. Maria walked over to Linda and Marcus while Emily played the 5-note melody again by herself, loving the sound of the notes. She's special, Maria said quietly. I can already tell. She has the passion, which is the most important thing. Technique you can teach. Passion either exists or it doesn't. Emily has it. Marcus felt proud, like Emily was his own daughter, even though he barely knew her. Will you keep working with her? Absolutely. I'd love to. Maria paused. Mr. Bennett, can I ask you something? Sure. Why are you doing this? Linda told me you're covering the cost of lessons. That's very generous, but it's unusual. Most people don't pay for a stranger's child's education. Marcus thought about how to answer. Emily did something for me, he said finally. She reminded me what matters. This is just my way of saying thank you. Maria nodded like she understood, even though Marcus was not sure he had explained it well. As they left the studio, Emily chattered nonstop about the lesson, about the piano, about how her fingers felt on the keys. Linda looked at Marcus with grateful eyes. Thank you, she mouthed silently. Marcus just smiled. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus found himself thinking about Emily constantly. He called Maria after each lesson to hear how Emily was progressing. The reports were always good. Emily practiced on her paper piano at home every night. She hummed the melodies she was learning. She asked Maria a million questions about music and composers and how pianos were made. Marcus started playing his own piano again every evening. It became part of his routine. After work, instead of pouring wine and watching the sunset from his expensive apartment, he sat at the piano and played. Sometimes he played classical pieces he had learned years ago. Sometimes he just improvised, letting his fingers create whatever melody wanted to come out. His business partners noticed the change in him. He seemed happier, less stressed. In meetings, he was more patient, more creative. He started leaving the office at reasonable hours instead of working until midnight. What's gotten into you? His friend David asked one day over lunch. You're like a different person lately. I started playing piano again, Marcus said. That's it? Piano? Marcus thought about Emily's words in the mall. Your heart is very sad, but it's also very beautiful. Music helps, he said. It reminds me that there's more to life than just work and money. David looked at him like he was crazy. Dude, you're 28 and you're worth $40 million. You made it. Why are you suddenly acting like there's some deeper meaning you need to find? Marcus did not know how to explain it to David. How do you explain that success without meaning is just a prettier version of emptiness? How do you explain that an 8-year-old girl had seen something in him that he had forgotten existed? I'm just figuring some things out, Marcus said. 2 weeks after Emily's first lesson, Marcus got a call from Maria. Marcus, you need to come to the studio, Maria said. Today, can you make it? Is something wrong? Is Emily okay? She's fine. She's more than fine. Just come. You need to see this. Marcus canceled his afternoon meetings and took a taxi to the studio. He had no idea what to expect. When he got there, Maria met him at the door with an excited expression. Watch this, she said. Emily was at the piano practicing. She did not notice Marcus come in. She was completely focused on the keys, playing a simple piece that Maria had taught her. But it was not just correct, it was beautiful. Emily played with feeling, with emotion. She swayed slightly as she played, like she was dancing with the music. When she finished, she looked up and saw Marcus. Her face lit up. Mr. Bennett, did you hear me? I did. Emily, that was amazing. Ms. Rodriguez says I'm a fast learner. She says I have a gift. Emily said the word gift like it was the most magical word in the world. Maria walked over to Marcus. In 20 years of teaching, I've never seen a child progress this fast. She practices on her paper piano for hours every day. Her mother told me she plays even at school during lunch, humming the melodies. She doesn't just learn the notes, Marcus. She feels them. Marcus looked at Emily, who had gone back to playing. Lost in her own world of music, something shifted in his heart. This was not just about paying for lessons anymore. This was not just about helping one kid learn piano. This was about something bigger, about potential and opportunity and all the kids out there like Emily who had gifts but no way to develop them. Maria, Marcus said slowly, how many kids do you know like Emily? Kids with talent but no money for lessons? Maria laughed sadly. Hundreds, maybe thousands. The city is full of them. Kids who would be amazing musicians if they just had the chance. Marcus felt an idea forming in his mind. It was crazy. It was big. It was exactly the kind of thing the old Marcus would have called impractical and impulsive. But maybe crazy and impulsive was what he needed. What if we helped them? Marcus said. What if we created a program? We could find talented kids who can't afford lessons and give them access to music education. Real education, not just a few months, but ongoing support. Maria stared at him. Do you know how much that would cost? Marcus thought about his $42 million, about his expensive apartment and his unused home theater and his $50,000 painting he did not even like. I can afford it, he said. And just like that, sitting in a small music studio watching an 8-year-old girl play piano, Marcus Bennett found his purpose. He had been searching for meaning and success in money in all the wrong places, but meaning had been right here all along, in helping someone else discover their gift, in using his resources for something that actually mattered. Emily finished her practice piece and turned around. Can I play something for you, Mr. Bennett? Something I made up? You made up a song? Marcus asked. Sort of. Ms. Rodriguez says it's called composing. I just think of melodies in my head and then find them on the piano. I'd love to hear it. Emily turned back to the piano and started to play. The melody was simple, but it was hers. It was original. It was proof that she did not just have technical skill. She had creativity, imagination, soul. As Marcus listened, he knew his life had just changed direction. He had made millions of dollars creating a technology company. That had been impressive. That had been successful. But this, helping Emily and helping all the kids like her, this would be meaningful. This would be the thing he was actually meant to do. Sometimes life changes in big dramatic moments. But sometimes it changes quietly in a music studio, listening to a little girl play a song she made up herself. Sometimes purpose finds you when you stop looking for it in the wrong places and start paying attention to the right ones. Emily finished her song and smiled at Marcus. Did you like it? I loved it, Marcus said, and he meant it with his whole heart. Marcus could not sleep that night. His mind was racing with ideas, possibilities, plans. He sat at his kitchen counter with his laptop, researching music education programs for low-income children. What he found both inspired and frustrated him. There were a few programs scattered across the city, small nonprofits doing good work with limited resources. They helped some kids, but not nearly enough. There were waiting lists months long. Programs had to turn away talented children because they did not have enough teachers, enough pianos, enough funding. Marcus looked at the numbers. A good piano teacher cost about $50 to $75 per hour. A decent used piano could be found for a few $1,000s. Practice space, sheet music, recital costs, it all added up. For one child to have serious music education for a year, it might cost $3,000 to $5,000. $5,000. That was what Marcus spent on a weekend trip without thinking about it. But for families like Emily's, it was impossible. Marcus started doing calculations. If he set aside $5 million, about 10% of his net worth, he could provide music education for roughly 1,000 kids for a year, or 500 kids for 2 years, or 100 kids all the way from childhood through high school. The numbers were rough, but they were possible. Very possible. At 3 in the morning, Marcus sent emails to 3 lawyers he knew who specialized in nonprofit work. He wanted to know how to set up a foundation, what the requirements were, what the process looked like. By 7 a.m., all 3 had responded with detailed information and offers to help. By the end of the week, Marcus had a plan. He would start small, maybe 20 to 30 kids in the pilot program. He would work with teachers like Maria to identify talented students from low-income families. He would provide lessons, instruments, practice space, everything they needed, and he would call it the Keys to Dreams Foundation. Marcus called Maria and asked if she could meet him for coffee. They met at a small cafe near her studio on a Saturday morning. Marcus brought a folder full of notes and plans. I've been thinking about what we talked about, Marcus said. About all the kids with talent but no opportunities. I want to do something about it. He explained his idea for the foundation. Maria listened, her eyes getting wider. Marcus, this is incredible, she said when he finished. But it's also a huge undertaking. Running a nonprofit is complicated. There's paperwork, regulations, hiring teachers, finding space, screening families. I know. It's a lot. Marcus took a sip of his coffee. But I have time and money. What I don't have is expertise. I need people who understand music education, who know how to work with children, who can help me build this the right way. Are you offering me a job? Maria asked with a smile. I'm offering you a chance to help a lot more kids than you could help on your own. You could still teach private lessons if you want, but you'd also help run the program, train other teachers, design the curriculum. Maria was quiet for a moment, thinking, how many kids are we talking about? To start, maybe 20 or 30. But if it works, if we can show that the model is successful, I want to grow it. I want to help hundreds of kids. Maybe thousands eventually. That would require staff, a real organization. I know. I'm prepared to invest seriously in this. Not just money for lessons, but money for infrastructure, salaries for good people, a real space where kids can come and learn and practice. Maria leaned back in her chair, studying Marcus. Why are you doing this? And don't give me the line about Emily reminding you what matters. There's more to it than that. Marcus thought about how to explain. I made a lot of money very quickly, he said slowly. Everyone told me I should be happy. But I wasn't. I was empty. Success didn't feel like I thought it would feel. It felt like nothing. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Then I met Emily, and she asked me to play piano. And for those 3 minutes, I felt more alive than I had felt in 2 years. Music did that. Music brought me back to myself. And now I see this kid who loves music the way I love it. But she almost didn't get a chance because of money. How many Emilys are out there? How many talented, passionate kids are being ignored because they were born poor? Too many, Maria said softly. So that's why. Because I have the money to do something about it, and because not doing something would be a waste. My company made millions of dollars helping people share photos and videos online. That's fine, but it's not important. This is important, Maria smiled. When do we start? Over the next 3 months, Marcus worked harder than he had worked building his company. He rented a space in a community center, a large room that could fit several pianos and practice areas. He worked with Maria to hire 3 more music teachers. He created an application process for families to apply. The hardest part was spreading the word without it turning into a circus. Marcus did not want publicity. He did not want news stories about the rich guy helping poor kids. That felt wrong, like he was doing it for attention instead of for the right reasons. So they worked through schools and community organizations, quietly letting counselors and teachers know about the program. Teachers could nominate students they thought showed musical talent or interest, but whose families could not afford lessons. Emily was the first official student of the Keys to Dreams Foundation, though she still did not know Marcus was behind it. Linda had told her it was a special scholarship program, which was technically true. Marcus went to the foundation space almost every day. He wanted to be hands-on, to understand how everything worked. He sat in on lessons sometimes, helped set up practice rooms, talked to kids and parents. The first day they opened with all 25 kids in the pilot program was chaotic and beautiful. Kids of all ages filled the space, some as young as 6, others in high school. Some were shy and nervous, others were excited and loud. But they all had one thing in common: they wanted to be there. They wanted to learn. Marcus watched from the side of the room as Maria gave a welcome speech. She explained the rules. Practice regularly, respect the instruments, respect the teachers, and most importantly, have fun. Music was not supposed to be torture. It was supposed to be joy. Then the kids went to their first lessons, and the space filled with the sound of pianos playing, sometimes beautifully, sometimes terribly, but always with effort and heart. Marcus felt something he had not felt in years: pure, simple happiness. Not the anxious high of closing a business deal or the temporary pleasure of buying something expensive. This was different. This was the kind of happiness that came from knowing you were part of something good. Emily saw Marcus across the room and waved excitedly. She was with a group of younger kids, all working on basic scales. Marcus waved back and smiled. A woman approached him, one of the parents. She was young, maybe 30, with tired eyes and a warm smile. "Are you Mr. Bennett?" she asked. "Yes, I'm Sophia Martinez. My son Carlos is in the program." She pointed to a boy of about 10 sitting at a piano with one of the teachers. "I just wanted to say thank you. Carlos has been talking about playing piano for 2 years, but we couldn't afford lessons. This program is an answer to my prayers." Marcus felt embarrassed by the gratitude. "I'm glad we could help. Does Carlos like it so far?" "He loves it. He woke up at 5 this morning because he was too excited to sleep." She laughed. "I had to stop him from leaving for the center 3 hours early." After Sophia left, Marcus realized something. This was not just about the kids. It was about the parents, too. Parents like Linda and Sophia, who worked so hard to give their children everything, but who still had to say no sometimes. Parents who carried guilt about what they could not provide. This program gave them a way to say yes. It gave them a way to support their children's dreams without going into debt or working even more hours. Marcus was talking to one of the teachers when his phone rang. It was David, his former business partner. "Where have you been?" David asked. "I've been trying to reach you for days. There's a new investment opportunity I want to run by you." "I've been busy," Marcus said. "Busy with what? Your calendar says you're free." Marcus looked around the room at the kids and pianos and teachers. "I started a nonprofit, a music education program for low-income kids." There was silence on the other end. Then David laughed. "You're joking." "I'm not joking." "Marcus, what are you doing?" "You're a tech entrepreneur, not a charity worker. This is a waste of your talents." Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. "How is this a waste? I'm helping kids learn music. I'm giving opportunities to children who wouldn't have them otherwise. But what's the return on investment? What are you getting out of it?" "Not everything is about ROI, David. In business, everything is about ROI. That's how you made your money. Maybe I don't want to think like a businessman anymore. Maybe I want to think like a human being." David sighed. "Look, if you want to give money to charity, that's great. Write a check. Take the tax deduction. But don't waste your time running it. You have skills that are worth millions. Use them for something that actually matters." "This does matter," Marcus said quietly. "This matters more than anything else I've done." He hung up before David could respond. That conversation bothered Marcus for the rest of the day. Was he wasting his talents? Should he just write a check and let someone else run the program? Good, because these kids need you. Not just your money, they need you here, present, showing them that someone cares. Marcus thought about that. He had assumed his role was just to fund the program. But Maria was right. The kids needed more than money. They needed to see adults who believed in them, who showed up, who stayed. "I'll be here," Marcus said, "as much as I can." Over the next few months, the foundation grew. Word spread through the community. The 25 kids in the pilot program became 40, then 50. Marcus had to rent additional space. He hired 2 more teachers. The kids were progressing beautifully. Emily was now playing pieces that typically took years to master. Carlos had discovered a love for composing and was writing his own simple melodies. Jasmine was so advanced that Maria recommended she start preparing for music school auditions. But not everything was smooth. There were challenges Marcus had not anticipated. Some families struggled with transportation to the center. Marcus arranged for a shuttle service. Some kids did not have space at home to practice. Marcus worked with community centers and churches to provide practice rooms. Some families were suspicious of the program, worried about strings attached. Marcus had to build trust slowly, proving through actions that the program was genuine. And then there was the funding. Marcus had committed $5 million over 5 years, which seemed like a lot. But as the program grew, the costs grew too. More teachers, more instruments, more space, more administrative support. $5 million would not be enough long term. Marcus started reaching out to other wealthy people he knew, asking for donations. Some said yes immediately. Others wanted to know what the program's measurable outcomes were, what the success metrics were, how they could be sure their money was being used effectively. Marcus found himself in strange territory. He was used to business pitches, to talking about market size and growth potential. But this was different. How do you measure the success of teaching a child to love music? How do you quantify the value of giving a parent hope? How do you put numbers on confidence and joy and self-expression? He did his best. He created reports showing student progress, attendance rates, parent satisfaction surveys. But he always felt like the reports missed the point. The real value was in moments like watching Emily's face light up when she mastered a difficult passage, or hearing Carlos play a melody he composed himself, or seeing Jasmine's mother cry with pride at a recital. 4 months into the program, Marcus organized the foundation's first recital. All the students would perform, from the beginners playing simple scales to the advanced students playing complicated pieces. Marcus was more nervous for this recital than he had been for any business presentation. He wanted it to be perfect. He wanted the kids to feel proud. He wanted the parents to see what their children were capable of. The recital was held in a small theater that a local college let them use for free. Every seat was filled with parents, siblings, teachers, and community members. Marcus sat in the back watching. The younger kids went first. They played simple pieces, some with mistakes, but the audience cheered for everyone. You could see the confidence growing in the children with each round of applause. Then Emily came out. She had been practicing for weeks for this moment. She was going to play a Beethoven piece, not for Elise, which Marcus had played for her that first day, but something harder, something that showed how much she had learned. Emily sat at the piano, looking small on the stage. She took a deep breath. Then she started to play. Marcus watched, barely breathing. She was good, really good. Her fingers moved with confidence now. She played with feeling, with understanding, not just hitting the right notes but making the music speak. When she finished, the audience exploded with applause. Emily stood and took a bow, smiling so wide Marcus thought her face might split. Her mother was crying in the front row. The rest of the recital was beautiful. Every kid played their best. Some made mistakes, but they pushed through. That was part of the lesson too, that mistakes were okay, that persistence mattered more than perfection. At the end, Maria asked Marcus to come on stage and say a few words. He had not prepared anything. He walked up nervously, uncomfortable with the spotlight. "I'm not good at speeches," he started, and people laughed. "But I want to tell you all something. 4 months ago, I met a little girl in a mall who asked me to play piano. Just one song, she said. I hadn't played in years. But I played for her, and it reminded me of something I had forgotten. That music matters. That it has the power to change us, to help us, to make us more human." Marcus looked at all the kids sitting in the front rows, still in their recital clothes. These kids have that same power. They have talent and passion and courage. All they needed was a chance. I'm grateful to be part of giving them that chance. But really, they're the ones doing the hard work. They're the ones showing up, practicing, pushing through when things get difficult. I'm just the guy who opened the door. They're the ones walking through it. The audience applauded again. Marcus quickly left the stage, uncomfortable with the attention. After the recital, families mingled, eating cookies and drinking punch. Kids ran around, still high on the excitement of performing. Parents talked to teachers, asking about their children's progress. Emily found Marcus in the crowd. "Did you like my piece?" "I loved it." "You were amazing, Emily." "I was so nervous. My hands were shaking before I started." "You couldn't tell." "You looked confident," Emily smiled. "Ms. Rodriguez says that's the secret. Even if you're scared inside, you act confident on the outside. Eventually, the outside confidence becomes inside confidence," Marcus laughed. "That's good advice." Emily looked up at him with those serious eyes. "Mr. Bennett, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why do you come to the center so much? Ms. Rodriguez says you started the program, but you don't teach lessons or anything. You just come." Marcus crouched down to be at her eye level. "I come because I like seeing you and all the other kids learn. It makes me happy." "Really? Just watching us makes you happy?" "Really. You know how music makes you feel good inside? Helping you learn music makes me feel good inside. It's the same thing, kind of." Emily nodded like this made perfect sense. "I'm glad I asked you to play that day at the mall." "Me too, Emily. Me too." Linda came over with tears still on her cheeks. "Marcus, I need to talk to you." They stepped aside while Emily went to show her grandmother the cookies. "I know," Linda said quietly. "I know you're the one paying for all this. For Emily's lessons, for the whole program. I figured it out." Marcus felt caught. "Linda, I asked you not to tell Emily. I haven't, and I won't, because I understand why you don't want credit. But I needed to tell you something." Linda's voice broke. "You changed my daughter's life. She was a good kid before, but now she has purpose. She has something she loves, something she's good at, something that makes her feel special. Do you know what that means to a parent? To see your child discover their gift?" Marcus did not know what to say. He just nodded. "I work 2 jobs, Linda continued. "I work so hard to give Emily everything I can. But I couldn't give her this. I couldn't give her music. And you did. You gave my daughter the world. She earned it," Marcus said. "She's the one working hard, practicing, learning. I just paid for lessons." "No." Linda shook her head. "You did more than that. You saw her. You saw a poor kid in a mall and you didn't just walk past. You stopped. You played piano for her. You listened when she talked. You cared. That's worth more than any amount of money." Marcus felt his own eyes getting wet. "Thank you for trusting me with her education. I know it was hard to accept help from a stranger." "You're not a stranger anymore," Linda said. "You're family." That night, lying in bed in his expensive apartment, Marcus thought about Linda's words. Family. He had been alone for so long, isolated by his success, cut off from real connection by walls of money and status. But now he had something he had not known he was missing: community, purpose, family, not by blood but by choice and shared values. His phone buzzed with a text from Maria. Great recital. These kids are going to change the world. Thank you for making this possible. Marcus texted back, and they're already changing my world. And it was true. The foundation had started as a way to help Emily and kids like her. But somewhere along the way, it had become the thing that saved Marcus too. It had given him back his music, his purpose, his sense of being human. Sometimes you help others and discover that you were the one who needed help all along. Sometimes you give someone a gift and realize they gave you a bigger one. Sometimes you think you're opening doors for other people, but really they're opening doors for you. Doors to parts of yourself you had forgotten existed. Marcus fell asleep that night with a smile on his face, already thinking about tomorrow, about the next lesson, about the next kid who would discover their gift, about the next small moment that would add up to something meaningful. The journey had just begun. 6 months after the first recital, Marcus stood in the lobby of a much larger building. The Keys to Dreams Foundation was moving. The community center space had been good for starting, but they had outgrown it. Now they had 58 students and 6 teachers. They needed more room. The new building was an old church that had been converted into a community arts center. The foundation would rent the entire second floor, 3 large rooms for lessons, a performance space, a library for sheet music, and practice rooms with soundproofing. Marcus walked through the empty space with Maria, their footsteps echoing. "This is perfect," Maria said. "We can fit twice as many students here." "That's the idea," Marcus said. "We have a waiting list of over 100 families right now. We need to grow. Are you sure you can afford it? The rent here is triple what we were paying." Marcus thought about his bank accounts. He had spent almost $2 million on the foundation in the past 6 months. Teacher salaries, instruments, space rental, supplies, the shuttle service, everything. His business partners thought he was crazy. His accountant kept sending him worried emails about his spending. But Marcus had never felt better about spending money in his life. "I can afford it," he said. "And if I can't, we'll find other donors. This is too important to worry about money." Maria smiled. "You've changed, you know. When I first met you, you were all business. Now you talk like money doesn't matter." "Money matters," Marcus said, "but only because of what you can do with it. I spent years making money for the sake of making money. That was empty. This is full." They spent the rest of the day planning how to set up the new space, where the pianos would go, how to divide the practice rooms, how to make it welcoming and inspiring for the kids. That evening, Marcus had dinner with his parents. He had not seen them in months. They had flown in from California, concerned about their son's sudden career change. His father, Richard Bennett, was a successful lawyer. His mother, Susan, had been a teacher before retiring. They sat in an expensive restaurant, the kind where the menu had no prices and the wine list was thicker than a phone book. "So tell us about this foundation," his father said, cutting into his steak. "Your mother and I have been trying to understand what you're doing." Marcus explained the program, how it started, how it had grown, what the impact had been on the kids. His mother listened with a warm smile. "That sounds wonderful, Marcus. I'm proud of you." But his father looked concerned. "It's admirable, son. But is it sustainable? You can't just keep pouring your own money into this forever." "I'm working on getting other donors," Marcus said, "and we might apply for grants. There's a lot of foundation money out there for arts education. But what about your career? You built a successful company. You have skills that are valuable. Shouldn't you be starting another company, building something big?" Marcus set down his fork. "Dad, I did build something big. I built a company that was worth millions of dollars. And it made me miserable. I spent 18 hours a day staring at code and sitting in meetings. I made a lot of money, but I lost myself." "That's just what success requires," his father said. "Sacrifice." "But what's the point of success if it destroys you?" Marcus asked. "What's the point of having money if you're too empty inside to enjoy it?" His mother reached over and squeezed his hand. "Your father just wants you to be happy, honey. We both do." "I am happy," Marcus said. "For the first time in years, I'm actually happy. The foundation gives me purpose. It makes me feel like I'm contributing something real to the world." His father sighed. "I just don't want you to wake up at 40 and realize you wasted your prime earning years on charity work." "It's not waste, Dad. It's investment. I'm investing in people instead of startups, in kids instead of tech, and the return on investment is better than anything I got from my company." "You can't measure charity work in returns," his father said. "You're right, because the returns are bigger than numbers. They're measured in changed lives and kids discovering their talents, and parents getting to say yes to their children's dreams." The dinner ended with his father still looking worried and his mother looking proud. As Marcus hugged them goodbye, his mother whispered in his ear, "Don't listen to your father. Keep doing what makes you happy. That's all that matters." The next week, the foundation held its first day in the new building. The kids were amazed by the space. Emily ran from room to room, trying every piano. Carlos immediately claimed a practice room with good acoustics. Jasmine spent 20 minutes just sitting in the performance space, imagining herself on stage. But the move also brought new challenges. The new space was in a different neighborhood, harder for some families to get to. The shuttle service had to be expanded. Some kids dropped out because the new location was too far. Marcus was frustrated. They were trying to help, but logistics kept getting in the way. How could they make the program accessible to everyone who needed it? He was discussing this problem with Maria when a woman walked into the center. She was about 50, well-dressed, carrying a designer bag. She looked out of place in the community arts center. "Can I help you?" Maria asked. "I'm looking for Marcus Bennett," the woman said. Marcus stepped forward. "I'm Marcus." The woman extended her hand. "Catherine Morrison. I'm a program officer with the Harrison Foundation. We fund arts education initiatives. I've heard about your program, and I'd like to learn more." Marcus's heart jumped. The Harrison Foundation was one of the largest charitable organizations in the country. If they were interested in funding the Keys to Dreams Foundation, it could change everything. They sat in Marcus's small office, really just a desk in the corner of one of the rooms. And Marcus explained the program. Catherine listened carefully, asking smart questions about student outcomes, teacher qualifications, program structure. "I'm impressed," Catherine said when he finished. "You've built something substantial in a very short time. But I have to ask, what's your long-term vision? Where do you see this program in 5 years, 10 years? Marcus thought about this. He had been so focused on the day-to-day challenges that he had not really thought about the future in concrete terms. "I want every kid who loves music to have access to quality music education," he said slowly. "Not just in this city, but everywhere. I want to prove that talent exists in every neighborhood, every income level. And I want to create a model that other people can replicate." Catherine smiled. "That's ambitious." "Maybe too ambitious," Marcus admitted. "But why think small?" "I like your vision," Catherine said. "The Harrison Foundation might be interested in partnering with you. We could provide a significant grant, maybe $500,000 over 2 years, to help you expand and stabilize the program." Marcus felt dizzy. $500,000. That would cover so much. More teachers, more instruments, expansion to other neighborhoods. "What would you need from us?" he asked. "A detailed proposal, measurable goals, a plan for evaluation and assessment. We need to show our board that the money is being used effectively." "We can do that," Marcus said. Over the next month, Marcus worked on the grant proposal. It was harder than he expected. He had to quantify things that did not feel quantifiable. How do you measure the impact of music education? Test scores? College acceptance rates? Those things mattered, but they missed the deeper impact, the confidence, the self-expression, the joy. He worked with Maria to track student progress more formally. They created assessment rubrics, documented attendance and practice hours, surveyed parents about changes they saw in their children. Emily's mother, Linda, filled out one of the surveys. Marcus read her responses with a lump in his throat. Before this program, Emily was a good student but quiet, unsure of herself. Now she walks taller. She volunteers to present in class. When she faces a challenge, she doesn't give up. She practices, just like she practices piano. Music has taught her that effort leads to improvement. This lesson has changed everything for her. Marcus included quotes like this in the proposal, along with all the data and statistics. He wanted the Harrison Foundation to see both the numbers and the human impact. While Marcus worked on the grant, something unexpected happened. A local news reporter heard about the foundation and wanted to do a story. Marcus had avoided publicity, uncomfortable with being seen as the rich guy saving poor kids. But Maria convinced him that publicity could help them attract more donors and reach more families. The story aired on a Friday evening. It showed the foundation space, interviewed several students and parents, and featured Marcus explaining why he started the program. The reporter called him a millionaire with a mission and described the foundation as changing lives through music. Marcus cringed watching himself on TV. He sounded awkward, and they had edited the interview to make him seem more heroic than he felt. But the impact was immediate. By Monday morning, Marcus had received dozens of emails and calls. Some were from families wanting to enroll their children. Others were from donors wanting to contribute. A few were from other wealthy people saying they wanted to start similar programs in their cities. One call stood out. It was from a man named Robert Chen, Linda's brother, Emily's uncle. Marcus had never met him. "I saw the news story," Robert said. "I didn't know my sister's daughter was part of your program. She never told us. I think she was embarrassed to accept help." "Your donation will make a huge difference," Marcus said. "Thank you." After that call, Marcus realized something. He had been thinking of the foundation as his project, his money, his responsibility. But it was bigger than him. It belonged to the community, to teachers like Robert who wanted to help, to parents like Linda who trusted them with their children, to the kids who showed up every day ready to learn. The grant proposal was due at the end of the month. Marcus worked on it late into the night, determined to make it perfect. He included everything: data on student progress, testimonials from parents, financial statements, plans for expansion, long-term sustainability strategy. The night before it was due, Marcus read through it one last time. It was 50 pages of careful documentation, proving that the Keys to Dreams Foundation was worth investing in. But as Marcus read, he felt like something was missing. The proposal showed the program's impact, but it did not capture why it mattered. He added one more section, a personal statement at the beginning. "8 months ago, I met a little girl in a shopping mall. She asked me to play piano, one song, she said. That simple request changed my life. It reminded me that success without meaning is just a prettier version of emptiness. It showed me that the best use of wealth is not accumulation but distribution, not building bigger walls around ourselves but building bridges to others." The Keys to Dreams. Foundation exists because every child deserves a chance to discover their gifts. Talent is distributed equally across all neighborhoods and income levels, but opportunity is not. This foundation is about correcting that injustice one child at a time. We are not just teaching music. We are teaching confidence, persistence, self-expression, and hope. We are showing kids that they matter, that their dreams matter, that someone believes in them. The numbers in this proposal show that our program works, but the real proof is in the eyes of a child who plays piano for the first time, in the pride of a parent who gets to say yes instead of no, in the transformation of a community that sees its children thriving. That is what we are building. That is what we ask you to invest in. Marcus submitted the proposal the next morning. Then there was nothing to do but wait. While they waited for the Harrison Foundation's decision, the program continued to grow. They accepted 20 more students, bringing the total to 78. Marcus hired 2 more teachers and an administrative coordinator to handle scheduling and communications. Emily was now one of the advanced students. She practiced 3 hours a day, sometimes more. Maria said she had the potential to attend a prestigious music school when she was older, maybe even get a scholarship. One Saturday, Marcus came to the foundation to find Emily practicing alone in one of the rooms. She was working on a difficult Chopin piece, playing the same measure over and over, trying to get it right. "How's it going?" Marcus asked from the doorway. Emily looked up and smiled. "Hard. This part is really hard. My fingers keep getting tangled. Can I make a suggestion? Please. Marcus sat next to her on the bench. Play it for me. Emily played the difficult measure. Her fingers did get tangled, and she stopped frustrated. You're thinking too much, Marcus said. Your brain knows what to do, but you're getting in your own way. Try closing your eyes. Just feel the music. Emily closed her eyes and tried again. This time her fingers moved more smoothly. She made it through the measure without stopping. Better, Marcus said. See? Sometimes you have to get out of your own way and trust yourself. Emily opened her eyes, excited. That actually worked. It's true for music and for life, Marcus said. Sometimes the hardest part is trusting that you're capable of more than you think. Emily went back to practicing, and Marcus sat nearby, watching. He thought about how far she had come in 8 months. She had started as a girl who had never touched a real piano. Now she was playing Chopin, composing her own music, dreaming of music school. But more than her technical progress, Marcus was proud of how she had grown as a person. She was more confident, more articulate, more willing to take risks. Music had done that. Music and people who believed in her. Mr. Bennett? Emily said, still playing. Yes? Why did you really start this program? The news said it was because you wanted to help kids, but I feel like there's more to it. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Emily was perceptive. She deserved an honest answer. I was lost, he said finally. I had everything I thought I wanted. Money, success, freedom. But I felt empty inside. I didn't know who I was anymore. Then you asked me to play piano, and for the first time in years I felt like myself. Music brought me back to life. Emily stopped playing and looked at him. So we helped you too? You helped me more than I helped you. I don't think that's true, Emily said seriously. Without this program, I would still be playing on my paper piano. I would never know what I'm capable of. You gave me that. You gave yourself that. You're the one who practices every day, who pushes through when things are hard, who believes in yourself. I just opened the door. Emily smiled. Then we helped each other. That's the best kind of help. Marcus hugged her. This wise little girl who had accidentally saved his life just by asking for a song. 2 weeks later, Marcus got the call from Catherine Morrison. I have good news, Catherine said. The Harrison Foundation Board voted to fund your program. We're granting you $600,000 over 2 years. Marcus almost dropped the phone. $600,000. Even more than they had discussed. Are you serious? Completely serious. Your proposal was excellent, and your program has demonstrated real impact. We want to support your expansion. After the call, Marcus gathered all the teachers and students for an announcement. Standing in the performance space, surrounded by the kids and families and teachers who made up this community, Marcus shared the news. We got the grant, he said simply. The room erupted in cheers. Kids jumped up and down. Parents hugged each other. Teachers applauded and wiped away tears. What does this mean? One of the younger kids asked. It means we can help more children, Marcus said. It means we can buy more instruments, hire more teachers, maybe even open a second location. It means this program isn't just mine anymore. It belongs to all of us, and it has a future. Maria stood up. I want to say something. Marcus started this foundation because one child asked him to play piano. That simple act of courage, Emily asking for music, created something bigger than any of us imagined. Each of you has that same power. Your courage to show up, to learn, to practice, to perform. It creates ripples. You're changing yourselves, and you're changing the world. After the meeting, parents and kids lingered, talking excitedly about what the grant meant. Marcus stood to the side, watching. This was his favorite part, seeing the community that had formed around a shared love of music. Linda approached him with Emily. I know you don't like to be thanked, Linda said. But I have to say it anyway. You changed our lives. Not just Emily's, mine too. Watching her grow, seeing her confidence, knowing she has a future full of possibilities. You gave us hope. You gave me purpose, Marcus said. That's a fair trade. Emily tugged on his sleeve. Mr. Bennett, I wrote a new song. It's not finished yet, but I want to play it for you. I'd love to hear it. They walked to one of the practice rooms. Emily sat at the piano and played a melody she had composed. It was more sophisticated than her earlier work. More complex harmonies, more emotional depth. She had titled it The Man Who Listened. When she finished, Emily turned to him. It's about you, about how you could have just walked past me that day at the mall. But you stopped. You listened. That changed everything. Marcus felt tears on his face. He did not try to hide them. "It's beautiful, Emily, you're an artist." "I learned from the best," she said. That night, alone in his apartment, Marcus sat at his piano. He played for hours, losing himself in the music. He thought about the journey that had brought him here, from emptiness to purpose, from isolation to community, from success to meaning. His phone was full of messages from business associates, old friends, people he had not talked to in months. They all wanted to know about the grant, about the foundation, about his inspiring story. But Marcus did not feel inspiring. He felt grateful. Grateful that Emily had the courage to ask a stranger for music. Grateful that Linda trusted him with her daughter's education. Grateful that he had been given a second chance to figure out what really mattered. The foundation was just getting started. There was so much more to do, so many more children to help. But Marcus was ready. For the first time in years, he was exactly where he was supposed to be, doing exactly what he was meant to do. Sometimes the best investment is not the one that makes you rich. Sometimes it is the one that makes you whole. 1 year after Marcus met Emily in the mall, the Keys to Dreams Foundation held its biggest recital yet. The event was at a real theater downtown, with red velvet seats and proper stage lighting. Over 200 people filled the audience: parents, siblings, teachers, donors, community members, and several reporters. Marcus stood backstage, more nervous than the students. This recital was important. It would show everyone what the foundation had accomplished in just 1 year. More importantly, it would give the kids a chance to shine on a real stage, to feel like the serious musicians they were becoming. Maria found him pacing in the wings. "You're making me nervous," she said with a smile. "Relax, the kids are ready. What if something goes wrong? What if someone forgets their piece? What if—" Then they forget, and they keep going. And they learn that mistakes aren't the end of the world. "Marcus, you need to trust them." Marcus took a deep breath. "You're right. I want this to be perfect for them. It will be perfect because they're doing it. That's what makes it perfect." The lights dimmed in the theater. Maria walked out on stage to give the opening remarks. Marcus watched from the wings. "Welcome to the first annual Keys to Dreams Foundation concert," Maria said to the audience. 1 year ago, this program didn't exist. Today, we serve 93 students across 2 locations. These young musicians come from all over the city, from all different backgrounds. What they have in common is passion, dedication, and courage. Maria paused, looking at the kids waiting backstage. Some of these students had never touched a piano before joining our program. Others had been teaching themselves, practicing on paper keyboards or playing by ear. All of them have worked incredibly hard to be here tonight. They've practiced for hours, pushed through frustration, overcome doubts. Tonight we celebrate not just their musical ability, but their perseverance. The concert began with the youngest students. 6-year-old twins named Maria and Miguel played a simple duet, their small hands carefully finding the right keys. They made a few mistakes, but they smiled at each other and kept going. The audience gave them thunderous applause. Next came Carlos, who was now 10. He played one of his own compositions, a piece called City Lights that captured the energy and chaos of New York. It was creative and surprising, full of unexpected chord changes and rhythms. The audience loved it. More students performed, some nervous, some confident, all of them giving their best effort. Marcus watched from backstage, his heart swelling with pride. These were not professional musicians, but they were real musicians, young people who had found something they loved and were willing to work for it. Then it was time for the advanced students. Jasmine, now 17, played a complex jazz piece with such skill that several people in the audience gasped. She had been accepted to a music conservatory with a full scholarship, something that would have been impossible without the foundation's support. And finally, it was Emily's turn. She walked out on stage in a simple blue dress that Linda had saved for months to buy. She looked so small on the big stage, but she walked with confidence. She sat at the grand piano, adjusted the bench, and looked out at the audience. Marcus held his breath. Emily was going to play 2 pieces. First, a Chopin nocturne that was extremely difficult. Second, her own composition, The Man Who Listened, which she had been developing and refining for months. She placed her hands on the keys and began the Chopin piece. From the first notes, Marcus knew this would be special. Emily played with a maturity beyond her 9 years. She understood the music, not just technically but emotionally. She made the piano sing. The audience sat in absolute silence, mesmerized. When Emily finished the Chopin piece, there was a moment of stunned quiet before the applause erupted. People stood up. Someone shouted, "Bravo!" Emily smiled and bowed. Then she sat back down for her original composition. "I wrote this song for someone special," Emily said into the microphone, her voice small but clear. "It's called The Man Who Listened. It's about what happens when someone takes time to really see you, to really hear you, to believe in you. It's about how one small act of kindness can change everything." She began to play. The melody was beautiful and complex, full of emotion. It started quietly, tentatively, like someone reaching out and not sure if anyone would respond. Then it grew bolder, more confident, building to a hopeful and triumphant conclusion. Marcus listened with tears streaming down his face. This song was about him, but it was also about so much more. It was about connection, about courage, about the power of taking time to notice each other, to help each other, to believe in each other's potential. When Emily finished, the entire audience rose to their feet. The applause went on and on. Parents were crying. Teachers were crying. Even some of the other students were crying. Emily stood and bowed deeply. Then she looked directly at the wings where Marcus stood, and she smiled, a smile that said, "Thank you, and I did it, and we did this together." After the concert, there was a reception in the theater lobby. People crowded around the students, congratulating them, taking pictures, asking questions. Several donors approached Marcus to tell him how impressed they were, how they wanted to contribute more to the foundation. But Marcus was looking for Emily. He found her surrounded by family. Linda, her grandmother, Uncle Robert, and several cousins. They were all talking at once, telling Emily how proud they were. When Emily saw Marcus, she broke free from the group and ran to him. He crouched down and she threw her arms around his neck. "Did I do okay?" She whispered. "You were perfect. I'm so proud of you." "Your song made me cry," Linda said, coming over. "It was beautiful, baby." "It's a true story," Emily said, looking up at Marcus. "About the day I met Mr. Bennett," Linda smiled. "I know the story. It's a good one." A woman approached them, one of the reporters who had attended. "Mr. Bennett, can I ask you a few questions?" Marcus reluctantly agreed. The reporter asked about the foundation's growth, about future plans, about how he measured success. "Success isn't about numbers," Marcus said. "It's about moments like tonight. It's about watching a child discover what they're capable of. It's about seeing confidence grow, seeing passion develop, seeing potential realized. Every kid in this program is a success story, whether they become professional musicians or not. But surely some measurable outcomes matter to donors." "Of course. We track student progress, attendance, academic performance, all of that matters. But the real impact is harder to measure. It's in how a kid walks differently after mastering a difficult piece. It's in how a parent's face changes when they watch their child perform. It's in how a community comes together around shared values of education and opportunity." The reporter scribbled notes. "One more question. Why music? You could have supported any kind of program. Why focus on music education?" Marcus thought about his answer carefully. "Music saved my life." That sounds dramatic, but it's true. When I was drowning in work and stress and emptiness, music was the thing that brought me back to myself. Music is a language that everyone can speak. It doesn't matter where you come from or how much money your parents make. Music is democratic. It's human, and every child should have the chance to experience it. After the reporter left, Marcus found a quiet corner to catch his breath. The evening had been overwhelming in the best way. He watched the students and families celebrating together, and he felt something he had never felt in all his years of business success: complete satisfaction. Not the temporary high of closing a deal, but deep, lasting fulfillment. Maria joined him, holding 2 glasses of punch. "You did it," she said, handing him a glass. "We did it. This was a team effort." "True, but it started with you, with your willingness to take a chance on one little girl." Marcus smiled. "She took a chance on me first. She asked a sad-looking stranger to play piano. That took courage. And you said yes. That took courage too." They stood in comfortable silence watching the celebration. "I have something to tell you," Maria said. "I got a call today from a foundation in Chicago. They heard about our program, and they want to replicate the model there. They want me to consult, help them set it up. That's amazing. Are you going to do it?" "I don't know. It would mean traveling, being away from here, but it could help us spread this model, help more kids in other cities. Marcus thought about this. You should do it. We're stable here now. You've trained the other teachers well. And think about how many more kids we could help if this model spreads across the country. You really think so? I know so. This is bigger than just our program. It's a movement. Over the next few months, the foundation continued to evolve. Maria consulted with programs in 3 other cities, helping them set up similar music education initiatives. The Keys to Dreams Foundation became a model that others wanted to follow. Marcus hired a full-time director to manage the day-to-day operations so he could focus on fundraising and expansion. They opened a 3rd location in another neighborhood. They started an instrument donation program, collecting used pianos and other instruments to give to families. Emily continued to excel. She was now practicing 4 hours a day and performing at competitions. She won several awards and was interviewed by music magazines, but success had not changed her. She was still the same sweet. Emily, your mom would give anything to send you to that program. I know. That's why I can't ask. She already gives everything. It's not fair. Marcus sat down next to her. Can I tell you something? Emily nodded. When I was building my company, I thought success meant having a lot of money. I worked crazy hours, gave up everything I loved, including music. And when I finally made millions of dollars, I thought I would feel amazing. But I felt empty. I had all this money and nothing that mattered. Emily listened quietly. Then I met you, and you asked me for one song. That simple request reminded me what matters: connection, purpose, helping others. You gave me back my life, Emily. You didn't mean to, but you did. So when you say you don't want to be a burden, I need you to understand something. You're not a burden. You're a gift. But you've already done so much for me, and you've done so much for me. That's how it works. We help each other. That's what makes life meaningful. Marcus paused. The foundation has a scholarship fund for exactly this kind of opportunity. We'll cover the cost of the summer program. That's what the money is for. Really? Emily's face lit up. Really? You earned this, Emily. You worked hard. You practiced for hours. You pushed yourself. This isn't charity. This is you reaping the rewards of your effort. Emily hugged him tightly. Thank you. For everything. For playing piano that day. For believing in me. For making this all possible. Thank you for asking me to play. For seeing me when I felt invisible. For reminding me why music matters. The summer program transformed Emily. She came back even more dedicated, even more skilled, even more certain that music was her path. She started talking about music school, about becoming a concert pianist, about teaching music to other kids someday. Marcus watched her grow and felt like a proud parent, even though he was not her parent. He had become part of her extended family, someone who showed up to recitals, who cheered at competitions, who celebrated her successes and encouraged her through challenges. As the 2nd year of the foundation came to a close, Marcus reflected on how much had changed. The foundation now served over 150 students. They had 12 teachers, 4 locations, and a waiting list of 300 families. Similar programs had started in 8 other cities, all using the Keys to Dreams model. But more than the numbers, Marcus thought about the relationships he had built. He had found a community, a purpose, a reason to get up every morning excited about the day ahead. He was still technically a millionaire, still had money in the bank, but he rarely thought about his wealth anymore. It was just a tool, a means to accomplish something meaningful. One evening, Marcus got a text from Emily. Can you come to the mall tomorrow? Same time we met? I want to show you something. Curious, Marcus agreed. The next day, he went to the mall at exactly 3 o'clock, the time when he had first met Emily. He found her standing by the same painted piano where he had played Für Elise 2 years ago. What's this about? Marcus asked. Sit down, Emily said, gesturing to the piano bench. Marcus sat down, confused. Emily stood beside him, exactly like she had 2 years ago when she was a little girl asking for a song. 2 years ago, I asked you to play one song, Emily said. You changed my life that day. Now I want to play for you. Emily sat down at the public piano and began to play. She played a medley of pieces, starting with Für Elise, the song Marcus had played for her that first day. Then she transitioned into Chopin, then into her own composition, then into other classical pieces, weaving them all together into one seamless performance. People stopped to listen. Shoppers put down their bags. Kids sat on the floor. Parents held up phones to record. A crowd gathered just like 2 years ago, but this time Emily was the one making the music. When she finished, the crowd erupted in applause. But Emily just looked at Marcus. "Thank you," she said simply, "for saying yes when I asked, for taking a chance on me, for showing me what's possible." Marcus felt tears on his face again. He seemed to cry a lot these days. Happy tears, grateful tears, tears of fulfillment. "You're going to do amazing things. Emily, I can't wait to watch." "I already am doing amazing things," Emily said with a smile. "Because of you." "No," Marcus said. "Because of you. You're the one with the talent and the dedication and the courage. I just opened the door." Emily laughed. "We're back to this argument again?" "What argument?" "About who helped who more." "I say you helped me. You say I helped you. Maybe we should just agree that we helped each other." Marcus pulled Emily into a hug. "Deal, we helped each other." "That's the truth." As they walked out of the mall together, Marcus thought about the journey that had brought them here. It had started with such a simple thing, a child asking for music and adults saying yes. Neither of them could have predicted where that moment would lead. But that was the beautiful thing about kindness. You never knew where it would go, how far it would spread, whose life it would change. One small act of generosity, one moment of really seeing another person, one decision to help even when it was inconvenient. These things had ripple effects that went on and on. Marcus had started the Keys to Dreams Foundation thinking he was helping children. But really, they had helped him just as much. They had given him purpose when he was lost. They had given him community when he was isolated. They had given him meaning when success felt empty. That evening, Marcus sat at his piano at home. He played for hours, not practicing any particular piece, just letting his fingers create melodies. He played for himself. He played for Emily. He played for all the kids in the foundation. He played for the person he used to be and the person he had become. His phone buzzed with a message from Maria. "Board meeting next week. We're discussing expansion to 10 more cities. You ready for this?" Marcus smiled. "Ready?" He had never been more ready for anything in his life. He texted back, "Let's do it. Let's change the world, one kid at a time." As he continued to play, Marcus thought about a conversation he had with Emily recently. She had asked him what the most important lesson music had taught him. "Music taught me that the most beautiful things in life are the ones we create together," he had said. "Not the things we accomplish alone, but the things we build with other people. Music is always better when shared." Emily had nodded wisely. "Like how you shared music with me and I shared my dreams with you, and together we created something bigger than either of us." Exactly like that. Now, sitting at his piano 2 years after that chance encounter in the mall, Marcus understood something fundamental. Success is not about how much you accumulate. It is about how much you give away. It is not about building walls to protect what you have. It is about building bridges to share what you have. He had been one of the youngest self-made millionaires in his industry. That was an accomplishment. But it paled in comparison to what he had accomplished in the past 2 years. Not building a company, but building a community. Not making money, but making a difference. The foundation would continue to grow. More cities would start programs. More children would discover their musical gifts. More families would experience the joy of watching their children thrive. More communities would come together around the shared belief that every child deserves a chance, and it all started with a poor girl who had the courage to ask a sad stranger for one song. Marcus played late into the night, his heart full of gratitude. He was grateful for Emily's courage, grateful for Linda's trust, grateful for Maria's expertise, grateful for every teacher, every donor, every volunteer who made the foundation possible. But most of all, he was grateful for the reminder that life's most precious gifts often come in the simplest packages. A child's voice asking for music, a few minutes at a piano, a willingness to say yes when it would have been easier to say no. Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest actions. Sometimes the most important decisions are the ones we make in a moment, without overthinking, simply because they feel right. Sometimes the best investment is not in stocks or real estate or technology, but in people, in their dreams, their talents, their potential to change the world. Marcus had learned all of this from a 9-year-old girl in a shopping mall, and he would spend the rest of his life paying forward the gift she had given him, the gift of purpose, of meaning, of remembering what really matters. The piano sang under his fingers, filling his apartment with music, filling his heart with joy. And Marcus knew, with absolute certainty, that this was exactly where he was meant to be, exactly what he was meant to do. He had started his journey as a successful but empty millionaire. He had become something better. A man who knew that true wealth was measured not in bank accounts but in changed lives. Not in what you keep but in what you give away, not in building an empire but in building a community. And it was all because one little girl had the courage to ask for one song. Sometimes that is all it takes. One song, one moment, one yes, and everything changes.